So AI, I have some thoughts. I wrote a paper recently on it, published it on my Substack, first thing I've ever written, and put out in the public. And I just want to highlight some of it here and maybe elaborate. So I'm not going to read it word for word, but I am going to reference it throughout this. So I entitled it Artificial Intelligence, the Most Divisive Tool Ever Made. And I really want to focus on that title for a moment because I think that a lot of what we believe AI could be for and what it's being used for is not always correctly described by saying tool. The promise of the future, the promise of the things that it can bring, autonomy, robotics, that's all great. In the meantime, we have AI slop all over the internet, Sora, video generation. Some video generation can be cool, but a lot of it's just slop. So I'm going to pedal this back quite a bit. I'm going to go way back and really focus on the evolution of technology because it's not just about what the youth of today sees. So to start out with, going back clear to the horse-drawn carriage. So from the carriage to the automobile, also known as the horseless carriage, the printing press to a typewriter, the word processor to a personal computer, and eventually what we now all have in our pockets, the smartphone. Technological evolution is as much about innovation as it is the displacement of the old way while encouraging the teachings of the new way. Adoption of the new way. You have to adopt or you won't move forward. You'll be left in the past. This can be heavily built upon the tools and the skills of the past. It generally nearly replaces them in every way after building upon that. But regardless, in this new era of AI, it does have the same stigma as before, as replacing the old with the new. What we leave behind, what we build forward. Moving to this process, or this way of doing things, there will be gains, as there always have been, and there will be losses. The loss is concerning. I think now more than ever. The concern of what we will lose is more relevant and greater than ever before, and publicly debated. It can be exciting for the prospects, but scary for the losses. To directly quote from my paper, technology was more and is more than just what we see today. What is technology? How would you define it? Well, if you ask AI, it would define it something like this. And I quote, technology is the application of scientific knowledge to solve practical problems to improve human life. It includes tools, machines, systems, and methods to help us achieve specific goals more efficiently or in an entirely new way. Credit to Microsoft Copilot. Each step ahead is built on the technological advancements of the past in some way. There's often a lesser need for human involvement with each advancement to further distance us from the old ways. But there is frequently an influx of people needed in a different capacity. You have to maintain the new way. You have to learn something new. The same or better outcomes need to be achieved with the new as it was with the old. And to get there, there is always displacement of people. And it must be learned. If not, workers are displaced, often left in the past. So in a way, they're all there. We're all here. But we have to learn to operate in a different capacity. Rather than doing the job, I'm really focusing on automation. Rather than doing the job, we're managing the machines to do the job for us. Big differentiator. So it's not that different, depending on your outlook. But it can be very different. It's all in how you view it. So I want to revisit the definition of solve practical problems and improve human life, as quoted by AI when I asked it. I find it to be a very interesting statement. Some would argue that there was nothing wrong with the old way, or that with some tasks, when you take away the human touch, it takes away from the quality of the outcome. We can be less connected with what we achieve when the creation of something involves less and less human involvement in the production process or the creation process. I would agree with that. It depends on the application. I may throw out a sheet with a hole in it and have a cat walk in front of the camera. But if I throw out a sheet from Walmart that has a hole in it, that's no big deal. You go get another sheet. But if it was a handmade quilt, heavily worn, wear and tear, maybe by your grandmother, great-grandmother, something you just found handmade in a small shop, it's a keeper. You're not just going to throw it away. Because the quality of the creation and the human touch makes the difference. In most people's minds. It does mine. I think most people would agree with that. No one wants to toss out their grandmother's handmade quilt. But let's face it, there are some jobs that have definitely been streamlined by a level of automation that we would never want to go back in time to perform again. When people had to complete demanding, repetitive processes that in many cases are far more dangerous for a person to perform than for a machine that is much more easily replaceable than human life. There is no doubt that the advancement in technology has benefited society far more than it has harmed it. Overall, lives have been saved. Medical science like vaccines, for instance, have saved untold lives, and countless other scientific breakthroughs have occurred. It's undeniable. Technology has bettered us overall as a society. But sometimes we take it a little too far, which is what I'm getting to. There have been some amazing advancements in technology over transportation in the last 100 years. So much that, imagine grabbing the nearest DeLorean, jumping back in time to 1925. Bring that person to 2025. Take them for a ride in any modern electric car. The entire process would seem like magic. Hell, just driving around a stainless steel DMC-12, which is what the DeLorean was actually called, would seem like living in the space age to someone from the 1920s. And of course, we don't want to go back to horse-drawn carriages when our modern horseless carriages are generally better in every way. So, by the way, why do we still call it horsepower? Is there any chance we're going to go back to using horses? I'm totally ripping off Jerry Seinfeld, but is there any chance we're going to go back to using horseless and we just need to keep track of how many we'd need to round up in case we decide to replace those motorized engines or those electric engines or gasoline-powered engines with horses? No, probably not. That's just left over from the past, carrying over, like many things do. So I'm going to shift over to communication. So getting away from transportation, going into communication. We're getting there. In the last 100 years, we've gone from letters by traditional mail, the telegram, telegraph, telephone, email, cell phone, and finally a smartphone. And here we are now. The smartphone is so commonplace. Everybody has one. They're everywhere. I would argue that we're working for it more than it works for us in a lot of ways. But all that aside, if you look at this evolution, we've brought access to communication way up. And despite the cost of your average smartphone, the cost of that communication has gone way down. We went from only the wealthy having the privilege to telephonic communication bolted to a single wall in their home with a crank start on the side to the vast majority of on Earth, in first world countries at the very least, having access to a far better form of this always-on connected communication device in their pocket that can communicate from anywhere in the world. I'm generalizing, but anybody watching this would probably agree with that. And it's in your pocket. Just think about that. Think of where we've come in 100 years. You can do far more with far less, far easier. The telephone used to only be a faster version of a telegram or a telegraph, hand-delivered message. And it was a game changer. This change in communication from laying lines under the along the seabed, under the ocean floor, to cross transatlantic communication, satellites in the sky. And believe it or not, there's far more of those under ocean cables utilized today than you may think. Still. But it just got faster and easier and cheaper overall. It's so much so. Good luck finding a payphone. Like, watch a movie from 20 years ago, there's payphones everywhere. 80s, payphones everywhere. Now, even in this small town where I live, good luck finding a payphone. So these smartphones today, they can do anything. They can do anything except for washing the dishes, doing the laundry, and your taxes. You can do your taxes on them. I don't recommend it. I need a bigger screen. That's not going to cut it, but it can be done. And moving towards my eventuality of AI, and I'm really focusing on handheld AI, but, it's embedded in everything. So let's just face it. These devices are getting so good that the cheapest ones are usually good enough. And the upgrade path, when it comes to the higher end, your phone can last so long now. You're only limited by the battery, and I think that's going to change. I think usable replaceable batteries are going to make a big comeback. I think that the laws are just going to demand it with environmental concerns, and use it till you lose it, throw it away, recycle nothing. I think that's going to change. We're already getting there. But in the end, you've got the if it's not broke, don't fix it mentality, which is good. But companies don't want you to do that. They want you to feel like you need to upgrade. You need to update. That's not good enough. You need the latest and greatest. And what does it do for you in the end? Okay, my picture, if I zoom in, might be just a little bit better. You could go get a better camera that would last much longer if you really wanted to go that route. But nobody's going to haul around a DSLR on your day to day. So what do? What's left to upgrade? We can't make the chips smaller. They can't get a whole lot faster right now. Batteries are at a standstill until graphene picks up. Look into that. Read about it. Graphene batteries are potentially a game changer yet again. Not just in phones, not just in electronics, cars. Electric cars, they could charge faster, last longer, go further. They would sell better. We just have to work on that infrastructure. But I'm getting ahead of myself anyway. So the cost of smartphones is very prohibitive. And the returning benefits of an annual upgrade, they're long gone. That's my point. Phones have plateaued. And many companies are looking for their next big bet to sell you a reason to buy their product. And here we are. Artificial intelligence. Look at the iPhone. Try not to laugh at it. Because Apple Intelligence right now is a joke. And it's probably going to be a joke for a long time. They're going to partner with somebody else and they're going to embed that in there and it's going to get better. But at that point, you don't need their product. You could just use what's already out there on another platform. Anyway, so here we are. The rapid advancement of artificial intelligence. Heavily prioritized by most of, if not all, the major tech companies across the globe. This is their next hook. This is what they're baiting you into. The thing that they're working so hard on is to crank out this AI as fast as possible to keep those dollars flowing and to be at the top of the race above all the other competitors. It's like watching another space race, except that space race, they want to put it in your pocket. Because nobody's watching regular TV anymore. You're watching it in your hand, casting it to your TV.
They want that to be the center. So you have to have the latest and greatest. You have to have the newest AI. What would you do if you didn't have it? Well, what did we do 5 years ago? I think we were okay. Anyway, it's being embedded everywhere to convince us that we need these tools because we need bigger, better LLMs, large language models. Google it if you don't know what it is, and other generative solutions. Smartphones, tablets, shopping apps, online tools, email, military drones, even pushed to be used as a prominent tool in the healthcare and health insurance industry. AI. And it's all about saving time, saving money, so that they can justify your cost cutting as a company that's putting these tools out there because they've spent so much money they need to sell it to you. Developing it. They've spent so much money developing it. Anyway. So the people that have worked in industry to be the best they can be in healthcare, for instance, health insurance, are being pushed to use these tools. Presumably. Because it's everywhere. And we're all pushed to use it everywhere. And I'm sure other industries are being pushed to use these tools. I open up I open up Google Chrome on the desktop. There's a Gemini icon right there. You need this now. They want you to need it. They want you to think you need it. You could be somebody who trained and you're the best in your field, but now you have to retrain to work with the AI. Or train the AI to make it be half as good as you are, or hopefully better. So do we need them? It sounds like they need us. It sounds like they, and when I say they, I'm talking about the AI, the LLMs, the large language models, this artificial intelligence. And you know why it's artificial? Because it's not real. Ask it to do something. I don't care how nice they make it sound when it speaks to you and how humanizing it can be. It's all ones and zeros. Never forget that. Apparently people have fallen victim to creating relationships, so they think, with these AI chatbots. My God, I worry about the kids of today. They have enough hard time making true friendships with real people. Now they're stuck. Some of them. Not everybody, of course. Frustrated with their relationships with the AI chatbot on their phones. If you find that to be the case, definitely address it. We don't want our kids going down a rabbit hole. So, focusing on the workplace, there really is a great potential to streamline processes. I can't ignore that. The possibility in time-saving generative AI can save time, it can save money, but that's really all it can be right now, is a tool. It can't be a replacement. It needs to be a tool. Here's the thing about replacing human decision-making. We are held responsible for our actions. We are flawed. AI, as we have seen, as it's being developed, because we're still training it, and always will be, is also very flawed. It can never be held responsible for our actions. We are held responsible for our actions. We are flawed. AI is flawed. And it can never be held responsible when it makes a fatal mistake. A human must always make the final call. Look at it this way. If someone uses a weapon to cause physical harm, do we blame the weapon or the person wielding the weapon? Along those same lines, if a person uses an AI tool to make a decision, and that information they base the decision on is incorrect, provided by the AI, do we blame the AI, or do we hold the person that uses that tool responsible? What if AI decides to make decisions without us? I don't think it's ever possible that we could lay the blame on the AI tool, because when it comes down to it, these are just tools. They're not sentient. Yet. The developers of artificial intelligence are pushing it further and further, because they have to, because that's their job, to take on more human characteristics. When you speak with these AI models or you watch these AI generated videos, they're getting pretty close to the real thing. A lot of people could be fooled by it. Many people can't tell that the generated from the real thing today in videos, in different pictures and things that it's creating. But as we try to model the software after people, and remember that all people are flawed, how would we expect to create something that's flawless? It's not possible. It's just not. And, flaws will always be there. They're always going to be there for us. And because of this, the lack of accountability for artificial intelligence, it can never be allowed to take full control. I'm not even talking Terminator level stuff. I'm just talking decision making, decision points. Today, we're starting to see artificial intelligence writing its own code, writing its own software, patching itself. If AI is allowed to patch its software flaws in real time and apply them without human intervention, and this is important, we are bordering on the line of sentience without human oversight. Code writing code, and it's happening now. It's not sentient. We're not there. That's a ways off, but we are paving the path forward for that to happen by the lack of human involvement. So if that ever happens, what happens once we try to intervene? If we get to that point, what happens when we try to shut them down? What happens when AI makes independent choices based on the software that it wrote for itself? And you tell me, who's at fault then? And what's to come? I'll end on a quote from one of my favorite villains of all time. We are the Borg. You will be assimilated. Resistance is futile.